credentials, okay? Great.
Okay, sure.
So Noor, the floor is yours.
And now we will move to our next speaker, Marc, Banoub, who will be giving us tips and tricks on how to land a remote AI job. Welcome, Marc. We are so happy to have you with us. Feel free to give us a brief introduction about yourself, and you can start with your introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Noor, so much. First of all, I want to check that everybody can see my screen here. It's clear for everyone. Let me know, Noor, if it's not.
Yes, it is.
Okay, you can see the presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Tayyib, thank you everybody for making it and attending this talk. I'll tell you brief about myself first, Yani, and the topic of this talk is how to land a remote AI job. To tell you a bit more about my background and why I am here, I'll share with you a bit my story. So a bit about myself. So as you know, I'm the founder and CEO of Lyrise. And my story started basically in early 2018. I was very intrigued by AI and data, like many of you here. And what happened basically is that I took a course online. I had a very challenging data problem in one of the companies I was working at as an analyst. So I thought there was something that needed to be done with automation. So I took the course online that's very infamous. I'm sure you're aware of it. It's the machine learning introductory course by Coursera by Andrew NG. And that really inspired me. It triggered me actually to work more in that space. So I became an AI team lead. I led a team to also work on these types of engagements and projects. It was a very exciting space and I grew a lot in it. I took more courses, but then I wanted to be more challenged. I wanted something more frontier. And what happened there is that I went to apply for jobs in AI and data in the region, Dubai, mainly Egypt. But I was very challenged. There weren't a lot of opportunities and a lot of the employers were like, okay, what's your certification? What qualifies you? It was very challenging to get a job that was frontier. And there weren't a lot of jobs as well. So basically I set myself to solve this and create my dream job. So Lyra, this time, now Lyrise was founded to create that sense, that dream job that I was looking for. However, there came another problem then, because now I became not an employee, I became now an employer. As a company, I also wanted to hire AI data engineers and data scientists. So I was challenged in another way, that I was actually looking to hire very good AI and data engineers and scientists. But there was a big challenge here because the quantity, there weren't a lot in the market, number one. And the ones that were really good, actually they had very good LinkedIn profile. They had done the technical assessment. They had all the certificates. But when we went to the hiring process, we realized in the actually probation period that they didn't have the foundations. So we're like, okay, how come? Like there's something that's not right here in the assessment process. And there's also something wrong in the quality of the talent of the market, of the caliber. So looking at ways to solve this, via training programs, via like prolonged like internships and programs where we could, monitor a bit more our hires or the people we would hire, it became a bit more successful and easier. But I was very lucky during that time to be invited to the first MIT Deep Tech Bootcamp. And at Boston, basically, I realized that, okay, this wasn't not only a regional problem in MENA region, but the shortage of AI data talent was a real big problem at the heart of Silicon Valley. And the biggest companies in the world also had this challenge. So I set myself coming back from that experience to dedicate Lyrise to solve this pain, solve the shortage of AI and data talent by helping companies and talents access opportunities and jobs faster, easier. but this is my story and this is why I'm here. I do not want to see any of the talents or the engineers and scientists go through the pain I've been through. And I also do not want to see companies go through that pain. I want to make it easier for them. So this is the dedication and mission of Lyrise and myself. So I hope to help you and add value in this presentation. So yes, having said this, the key now is to understand why you are here, because now you know why I'm here. But my challenge, or what I want to know, is why you are here. So I also want Salma to help me with this in the chat. Do maybe a poll. So I'll ask you and have this presentation be more like a conversation. So my question to you, Yani, there might be 3 main reasons why you're here. So you might be attending this talk because you can't find a job or reach employers. You don't know which job fits you, or you can't find the right training courses to get you the skills you need. So I'd love to know in the chat here, or even we can open a conversation if anybody wants to raise their hands. I want to have this presentation to be a conversation together. So tell me, which one are you here for? Which one is your position? Which one is your case? Okay. Okay, can anybody in the chat? Yeah, we have here. One, we have Hamza, the first one. Yeah, I'll just reload the presentation. I'm interested in AI, I want to learn more about it. That's Abdullah. Okay, so I guess it's more the first one. Okay. How about the rest? We have Roy, Eltin, more people. We have Michael, Zain, Hamza, Ali as well, Omar, Tia, Joseph, Abdu, Ghadi, Abdullah, Kivwork as well. Why are you guys here? So we have Al-Mu'tasim Billah saying, afraid from not find job in the MENA. Okay, here to know more. What do you mean by that? So you mean like AI will take away the jobs, or yeah, don't know where to start. Yeah, okay, I see that. I'll share screen again. Okay, we have another person in the chat. I'm trying to keep the chat viewable from my side here. How can I see that? Is there a way to see the chat while I'm presenting? I'm trying to make that happen. Okay.
I guess you can click double on Zoom.
Okay, Finn. More chat. Here we go. Here we go. Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Whoever said that, thank you. Ahmed Ibrahim. Simon, what's your reason then? Having certificate in machine learning from Zaka, done a capstone project language identification located in Lebanon and trying to find a job. Okay, very good. Ahmed, you're looking for a job. From Syria, I'm a biological engineer. I was working on a project that depends on AI and I liked so much, I wanted to develop myself, so I did good certificate. Very good. Shifting, don't know where to start. So a lot of you, it seems like you are in between. So I'm gonna go this full screen again. You're in between, like you don't know where to start, and you have found mainly you have certified yourself, you have the skills you feel, but you don't know how to find a job, or you don't know which job fits you, right? So you're mainly, most of you are in this pool. That's really good. So I hope to address that in this presentation. Just want to get back to the chat here. Okay. It doesn't seem like I can access the chat while I'm doing full screen. So I'll tell you a bit about COVID-19 impact on jobs, so you know a bit what's happening in the global market. So I'll ask you this question. Do you think what's your idea? Do you think there were more jobs that were, created in COVID, or there are less jobs demand, or more jobs demand in AI and data? What do you think? By the way, I think if we could just open people to just discuss or, communicate, not on chat, because it seems like I'm not able to find.
Yes, everyone, feel free to unmute yourselves and interact with Marc instead of sending on the chat.
Yeah, what do you think, guys? Do you think now there are more AI jobs due to COVID or less?
More job remotely related to all IT stuff.
Okay, more jobs. Type.
I guess it has increased based on Corona, because everything is moving to cloud and we have more data. That's why AI jobs are getting more.
Very good, very good. So yeah, I have now access to the chat, so I can see your chat, guys. But yeah, that's a very good point. So more data, more remote. That's very good insight. So yes, actually, software and IT jobs, as you can see here from LinkedIn, they are one of the most jobs that are actually have positive sentiment on working from home. So it's actually increasing. And another insight is that a lot of jobs during COVID, they decreased. So they were not hiring, but AI and data was one of the very few jobs worldwide that remained positive. So they were like plus 10% growth. So it was growing. So that means that there's a lot of demand. Okay. So what you said is right. So I'll ask you another question. What's the percentage of the workforce that will be working remote in the next 5 years? What do you think?
I guess 30%.
30?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that's an overestimate or under? Anybody has different an answer? Do you think it's more or less? So we have 50% from Brandon. Any other guess? Let's say in the next 5 years, is it more than 50% or less? Who can get the most accurate estimate?
Less than 50%.
How much?
Less than 50%.
Less than 50. Okay. I would love to know who if the majority thinks more than 50 or less.
I think it depends on the performance happens during COVID-19. If the company is getting more revenues using remote jobs, they will proceed into it.
Yeah, that's a good point, of course. But we already had 1 year of remote. Do you think that it's a successful experiment or not?
I think yes, as long as they reduce the cost, because most of the costs during using the remote work are actually decreased. Like, for example, I don't know, locations and so on, electricity and all of these costs stuff.
Yeah, it's a good point. So actually, guys, I also thought it was a bit counterintuitive, but the actual number, the estimates, are more than 50%. I mean, most of the estimates are saying we're talking about 70% of the workforce will be working remote in the next 5 years and more. And also, so it seems like remote is here to stay. Like things are very early. It doesn't seem like it's going to go back to how it was. And I'm not sure if you saw the metaverse or what Facebook is doing, or Meta. But yeah, it seems like a lot of technology is moving towards working remotely, and more we're seeing this in AI and data, that this is something that becomes more in demand and more challenge. So companies now in Silicon Valley are looking to hire the best fit anywhere in the world, even in Lebanon, even in MENA. So this can be good news, right? And this is an opportunity for us.
Well,
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I think it differs between the concept of where AI is placed in the different fields. Like in the medical field, it might be used like remotely in terms of just diagnosis. However, everything else requires to be on the field. Similar for farming and agriculture, you can't be always online. It differs from the field that you're working in it.
Yes, of course, of course. You have a point. Like for example, industrial, like you can't work in a manufacturing company when you're remote, right? It makes a lot of sense. You're right. However, IT jobs are the trend is growing. Like the majority, let's say, are fit for remote work. Like robotics, for example, it's very challenging. But for this topic, AI and data, it's growing. The majority is there. So good point.
I guess plus we are.
Sorry?
Yes, I guess plus we are moving in parallel with 5G and robotic. So I guess even we can use them in agriculture or anything they need human in location.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good point, definitely. So to tell you a bit more about the remote landscape, so I'll share it here with you. So this is a bit of insights we shared together. But working from home, is it more effective and increases productivity? This is a big question a lot of companies and employees asks. So basically, there's a lot of insights saying that majority, again, above 70% of remote workers get more done in fewer hours thanks to fewer distractions like meeting, conversation, and noisy coworkers. So you'll see a big trend from really big companies taking the helm and saying, okay, on the opinion of they allowed their employees to work remotely indefinitely. And you have hybrid models, but you have also the challenges and more the sentiment where there are problems in remote work, like how will we define productivity? There's limited evidence of work, remote worker bias, different types of work, long-term variables, individual differences. All these become pressing challenges in the online work and hybrid kind of models. But again, this is to show you. Yeah, go ahead. Was there a question here? From Abdul?
What are the long-term variables, Marc?
The long-term variables, or how is this sustainable long-term? Again, so how can like elements like burning out or having long-term someone you've never seen and you're working with remotely indefinitely in your team, like how is this sustainable? That's the key question. If it's 100% or remote first, does it make sense?
As always, shout out from.
Sorry, Bassam, nice to hear from you. Hello. So to expand on this, here's the opportunity, right? That's why you're here. So how do I fit in all this? Where are the AI and data jobs that I'm very excited about? So we're talking here about rising AI and data jobs. So what's happening here? What do you think companies are looking for? Are they looking for, and I want also Salma to create a poll for this. Do you think what's more important, having certificates from universities, online courses, or experience? If you would go to a same employer, would they value more experience or certificates? I would love to hear your thoughts in the chat. And as well, do you think soft skills are more important or technical skills when it comes to AI and data? I also want to hear your thoughts.
Experience.
And you think, okay. So let's take it to the chat and have a poll about it, and then we can discuss. Let's give it like 30 seconds. Also, the last one is mission driven. So do you think a company would favor somebody who knows exactly what they want and have a clear mission and etc., or they would be more open to someone who's in career exploration phase, who's shifting careers, etc.? So I want you to kind of, vote on what you think is more important for a company, especially in AI and data. So let's give like 20 seconds, 30 seconds for people to vote. So experience, we're getting a lot of experience, technical skills, both. Yeah, a lot of both. Some companies still need certification, technical skills, 70%, 30%, yeah. Big companies will look for experience, so the first from the job. The job requires theoretical knowledge, certificates is needed, or the job requires, yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of insights in the chat. Certificates is more than experience. Okay, I wonder who said that. Abdullah, why do you think certificates is more than experience? You mean the opposite? Yes. So let me touch on the first one because I think that's also could be counterintuitive and also like, so you know actually what's happening, especially in the field of AI because it's moving very fast. A majority of employers favor experience and specifically unique experience. Like if you're able to say, I worked on a real life case project in agriculture or in manufacturing, and very few people have done, you know, what you've done and you showed value, this for an employer is way more valuable than having a machine learning, deep learning certificates on Coursera, right? So many people have that and it's not unique. So this is a statistic, it's real, like this is the real market. Of course, it can depend from startups to enterprise, but this is what you should know. Like really the most core element here is really a strong, that, you know, showcase of experience. We can talk more about it. Yani. They're both very important, but employers would favor and prioritize experience. So let's go on soft skills and technical skills. A lot of you said both of them are important. It's true. Technical skill is very important. However, we're seeing more and more that soft skills for data scientists and machine learning engineers is becoming more and more valuable. For example, if you're able to do a data science project, but are not able to explain it and communicate it and gather from the team, you know, the maximum synergy and showcase that in a story, this is not good. This will not increase your value in the market or even within your team. So we're seeing more and more employers wanting to have a more balanced kind of talent where you're able to, even if you don't have the technical skills, but you're able to articulate it, you're able to learn it, you're able to engage within a team in a good, well-rounded way. So I would say do not deprioritize soft skills. On the contrary, if you're really able to articulate things well and communication, this is very, very valuable. Yeah, it's a balance. I would really put it 50-50 because a lot of people undermine soft skills, and in the remote world, it's becoming more and more important. Also, one last thing about mission-driven and career exploration. So I'm not sure how you understood this or what you voted on the most, but a lot of you and a lot of early candidates in the career, they are more like exploring, like they could have data science skills, but they would work in an industry like agriculture or talent or, you know, in manufacturing, but actually they realize that they're more passionate about something else. So that makes a difference. I've seen a story of a person called Muhammad. I won't say the name just for privacy, but the last name. Muhammad was trained by us, and he actually was very passionate about data science. And we realized also that he was very passionate about the soccer industry. So we connected him to a company that was doing just that, data science and in the soccer industry. And his soft skills and technical skills were less than other candidates. But the company ended up choosing him because he was so passionate and was so dedicated towards the industry and the mission itself of the company. So I just want to also emphasize that a mission-driven workforce is very important. Knowing what you want and how you connect to a particular mission is very important for an employer, and it's very important for yourself as well. But yani, I just wanted to leave these insights here. Do you have any questions before we move on? Okay, so which type of companies to pursue for those who are looking for jobs? What do you think? Are enterprise more important, or would you pursue bigger companies, or would you go for startups? What do you think are more abundant, and what do you think are easier to get in? What type of experience are you looking for? Which one is more beneficial for you? I'd love to hear in the chat also and maybe have a conversation. Let me know what you think. Would you go for a startup? Would you apply there, or would you apply to enterprises, or how would you balance it out? So Abdullah, it depends, but I'd like to join start say that I have more hands-on work. Yeah. Abdullah, one. What fits you? What do you think there are more AI and data jobs in startups or enterprises? A lot of people, Simon as well for startups. Ahmed as well. We have Al-Muntasim at first enterprises, okay. Razan, enterprise. Startups give space to grow, enterprise fit here, stay here. I feel like startups offer better experience. Abdullah, Omar. Startups in early career life, okay, interesting. So for those who said enterprise, now, why do you think this is where you would apply for the most? Yani, does that mean that fits more what you're looking for? You think it's easier, or you think, what are your reasons? Why do you think enterprises fit more in the AI and data jobs you're looking for? Okay, we have Razan and Muntasim. Do you want to share a bit more about your reasons? Okay, it's okay if you don't want to share. It's fine. From the startups people, wide our vision in real life and useful application. From the view of just startups, why would you go for them? A lot of reasons were early stage, gives more room, etc. But which one are more difficult to enter, to apply, because you want to get a job, right? Which one are more challenging? Have you tried both? Okay. It's harder to get into enterprise. Why do you think so? Many people would apply. Yeah, it's a good point. Also, they have technical assessments that are standard and you have to study them. A lot of them have different assessments, much more competition. Yeah. So again, if you're early in your career and you have more room, to take risk, I would recommend joining a startup, because again, for many reasons, where you would get more experience, get more exposure. But again, the caveats here is that as a machine learning engineer in a startup, you might be doing more data science things or data engineering things. So it doesn't really formulate if you want to go specialize yourself, it can be a bit broad. There are a lot of hurdles also of joining a startup. So try to position yourself and looking at the successful ones you want to join. And another very important advice that I've done is, like, feel free, if you have the capability, to go do an internship or go do a training or join a startup just to help and learn. If that's an opportunity, it gives you open access easily initially. It can give you a lot of insights and opportunities. For enterprise, it's like you said, it's more challenging. There are very robust standard assessments that you can do the one of Google and the one of Facebook and Vodafone and all these big companies. Like, they all have their different assessment. It takes a lot of time to study. It's very competitive. It's a long process. But when you get in, it's more organized. There are more specialized roles. But I would also challenge that it's not as big of a difference than startups, because even big enterprise, right, as we speak, they're still figuring out the standards. They're still figuring out how to operate and organize teams. So it's also a different environment, but I've seen a lot of teams and enterprises that are operating like startups and very young and very small teams. So it's also interesting. It's just how you want to position. If you're more early in your career, give maybe a majority to startups and a minority to enterprise. If you're more senior in your career, do the opposite. That's what I would recommend. We can talk more about it. So what are your main challenges in landing an AI and data job? Which one of you are you in these four? Are you still new? You don't know where to start? Again, back to that point, you don't have enough experience to advance in your career. or hassle to nail the technical assessment interview, or you're still searching for what kind of job suits you? Again, after all that we spoke, which one of those you relate to the most? Okay, so Salma, do you want to ask, put the questions in the chat? Who here is still at one? Who's here still don't know where to start? Okay, Renoir, you have a very interesting question. I would suggest you keep it as a note because I think this needs more elaboration in the Q&A. So a lot of tools, we have Mu'tasim, Omar, Lina, don't have enough experience. Interesting. It's very interesting. Who else is more in the two, or who is more in the three here? A lot of twos, okay. Khalil is still at the start. Fatima at 2, okay. Interesting. Simon is having trouble with technical assessments. Okay. Tia still at the start. Okay. Okay, who else? Abdullah, I hope in this presentation you'll be able to find what the value and try to get what you want. If you still don't know where to start, hopefully we'll guide you there. If you don't know, if you don't have enough experience, hopefully we can also help you get experience. And if you're having issues with technical assessments, also that's we can help with that. Zane 1, okay. Does anybody want to share anything here? Does anybody want to share their personal experience? For who said 1, can you share exactly and where do you stand? For who has shared a bit about 2, can you share a bit what's your challenge, and 3 as well? I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I'd like to share my experience. I'm not into just technical assessments. I've worked in voice recognition and LP. Most of my projects, I work with computer vision, image processing. So I've worked in different topics regarding AI. But my main issue is like projects are shifting. This is the main issue. Like where we work on a certain project, it totally shifts to a different concept. Like working on NLP, voice recognition, it's shifting between languages. Like it differs. My challenges are with the NLP types of languages working with, like not as datasets English. Datasets English are somehow easier than Arabic datasets, than other datasets that have more than characters, more labels, more things related to them.
Yeah.
These are my more technical challenges I'm facing, like moving to different languages.
Yeah. So what would help you here? What would so you're challenged because you're not able to find the right experience or course online or help or mentor that guides you?
Yes, like we can. There's like the Arabic, for example, NLP or AI moving through them, like NLP voice recognition or even text recognition. Arabic is very hard to work with. There's nothing well online found, or even like Google API to change the voice from general female to male. There's just the female or the default one given through the Arabic NLP voice. There's not the English, like English we can move to male or female. We can choose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Not enough resources in some fields to find.
I hear you, Simon. I hear you. I hear your pain. You're not alone. Trust me. Like there are a lot of people standing there, and it's a market challenge, right? It's but I'd love to discuss with you one-on-one how we could solve this. I mean, I'm sure you tried Stack Overflow, communities.
Yes, yes. I even tried to create my own data set. I reached this situation.
Yeah, I hear you. I know how you feel, and good luck. I'd love to chat more with you about your situation, but keep it up, and I'm sure we'll find ways. Maybe you can solve that for many others like you. But yeah, let me know if I can help anyway, and maybe connect you with someone who had this similar experience. But definitely, you're not alone. We hear you. Thank you, Simon, for sharing. And I would love to hear more about who went through two, or because there's a lot of you that are now you feel you don't have enough experience to advance in your career. So can you share like a story or tell us a bit where you're challenged at? Anybody wants to share?
Yes, I can share. Actually, I have more than 10 years into data analytics experience. Okay, so I had passion into machine learning, and I studied learning machine learning on Coursera. After that, I've graduated from Zaka and machine learning certificate, and now I'm studying for for average of 6 hours per day in order to continue the journey and get the professionalism into this domain. However, the the main challenge that we're not taking any opportunity in order to have a job in machine learning in order to advance our career into this domain. This is the main problem. They consider us as a fresh graduate. We don't have experience. They don't hire us, and because of this, they don't give us the chance to advance our career.
So because you have a lot of experience, but you're shifting career earlier on, so they see you as you have 10 years of experience. So you might be maybe they would rather hire a more junior person than give you the opportunity because you're now shifting career and they see you as you require more experience or something.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Again, this is we find this very common. طبعا shifting careers after 10 years is a challenge. A bit less of a challenge if you do that earlier on. But I think I would love to give you hope. I mean, I like if you go back, if you have the luxury of getting experience through a startup ecosystem or a project. I mean, I have a case of also someone who's worked, and he's with us in the team. His name is Luc. He's worked maybe 7-9 years in sales and marketing, and now he shifted his career, and he's actually teaching at the university now. He's creating courses, and he's doing great jobs. He's working with clients. So I want to give you hope. Like, I mean, it's never too late, and you can still do it.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe increase the pool of your opportunities. I'm happy also to discuss with you if there's any way we can help. But good luck. They're not alone.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody still at one who wants to share a bit about what to do, what are your challenges? You still don't know where to start. What are you thinking? Where are you looking? Anybody would like to share?
We still have 8 minutes, so if someone wants to share anything with Marc, feel free to do it.
Yeah. Razan is saying we learn a lot of courses and read a lot of books. We're able to learn anything, but when going to companies, they say we need a person with long years of experience. Yes. Yes. Lina is saying very hard to find internships nearby. So does Stal want to share a bit about where to start? Anybody challenged how and where to start? We have Tia, Zain, Khalil as well. Abdullah. Okay, it's fine. We can talk later, one-on-one, no problem. So moving on, I just wanted to condense a bit of tips and tricks that we've seen. Again, it can feel a bit not specific to you, but we have more content in regards to that we can share. So basically, in terms of tips and tricks, number one, I'll ask you here, if you have a senior AI and data expert that is a mentor to you, or there's somebody who's a coach, that's one of the things that is so precious to have. And I really suggest and recommend you have at least 2-3 of these people in your network. Just go on LinkedIn, be like, hey, I'm really passionate about this. I'm very interested, and I'd love for you to help me in my career, and so forth. And try to be very, helpful and adding value and professional as well. You'll see that a lot of the senior guys have went through your same challenges and same pains, so they would actually want to help you. And a lot of people I've seen, influencers with 400,000 followers and millions, who actually give their time to juniors and people starting their careers. So don't be afraid, and try to always surround yourself with more senior people that can mentor you and you can resort back to. So that's my first tip and trick that we'd like to share with you. The second one is search for internships and trainings that give you real experiences. For those who said you can't find around, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. I'm not sure why you said you can't find around, but remotely, you'll find a lot of internship opportunities. And even if there isn't, if you like a startup and you like a particular mission, just go and ask them, hey, it seems like you're a tech company, you have data and AI. If you working in your company, I'd love to learn and have an internship. So be bold. It's okay if there isn't any opening, and I'm sure startups will be very flexible to give you the room in that regard. And trainings, like there are countless of trainings, but it's just to pinpoint the ones that give you real experiences. For number 3, engage with colleagues or start your own projects on Kaggle, for example. So I'm not sure how many of you here have done that. So Brandon saying finances are limited at times. So how can we find mentors who don't charge an arm and leg? Is there a site specifically for internships? Brandon, these are great questions. Look, I don't think this type of approach is paid. So it's more in good faith, kind of goodwill. So that's what I mean. Like, I don't think I meant to be paid, right? So it's just about your approach. I can also help you with that on how to approach. Is there a specific site for internships? Look, not that I know of, but you'll find many on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's the answer here, and we could talk more about that as well. Polish your GitHub account and showcase studies that increase business value. So, okay, for those who don't have, so we have Renwa was sharing here in the chat. We work remotely, check it out. In terms of Kaggle, so I'm not sure how many of you don't have a project on Kaggle, but it's very important. There are a lot of competitions there, so feel free to check it out. Your GitHub, also try to have your GitHub in the field of AI and data is like your LinkedIn, it's like your resume. I would really prioritize this over anything else. If you have a really nice polished project with a dashboard that you can showcase and explain, that's so valuable. If you don't have that, you must have it. Like if anybody, or even when you share, just share your GitHub and showcase a project, a dashboard, a story that shows the value. Like use data science to create what? At the end, you're creating value. So measure this value. Is it business value? Is it more revenue? Is it less churn? Is it more subscriptions? Is it less environment impact? Whatever it is, you want to show the value. Learn more about data and code security features and ethics. So I would challenge you, if I would ask you, or any company would ask you, do you know what online code security protocols is? Do you know what GDPR is? Do you know what is AI and data ethics? I mean, if you're able to showcase and tell that you know this, it really differentiates you, because today in the remote world, these are becoming more and more important. Knowing the ethics of AI, knowing how to use code, not to save it on your desktop, or not to leave it open, or how to respect GDPR compliance. All this is super important. I know in MENA we don't talk about it a lot, but it is important for the remote world. It is important for companies, mostly not in MENA, but it should be important for companies in MENA. And if you're able to showcase that, I think it differentiates you. Which leads us to the last one. I think differentiate yourself at the beginning means specialize. Specialize in one thing and then go broader as you grow. So for example, we were talking here with Ahmed, if I recall, or Brandon. If you guys are able to specialize to showcase, okay, I've done a forecasting module in the hospital industry, in healthcare, you're going to be able to take that experience in a healthcare sector or in a healthcare company and showcase that you have done something unique, you solved the unique problem. And that differentiates you. So I would suggest go deep, specialize first about one problem. Like we see a lot of profiles that have NLP, computer vision, deep learning. It's so broad. A lot of people have that. But if you have one case, or you have 2-3 cases in the hospital sector, in data science, in forecasting or classification, or in supply chain, you're unique. And I'm guarantee you PNG would be lining for you to join their company. So yeah, I would just really be focused on going deep and then broadening as you grow. So some good news, the top AI and data jobs in demand are here in this slide, right? So it's growing. There's a big percentage of AI jobs that are ML, deep learning, etc. So you can see it's in high demand. I'll ask you a question. Which job do you think was the highest growing job in not the world, but in the United States? Which one is the highest growing job do you think in the world, in the United States? Let's say last year. Any guesses? Five, DevOps. DevOps was the highest growing job last year. Brandon is saying DevOps. Okay. 2 more guesses. Who else? Data scientist. Okay, 1 last guess. Anybody has a different opinion? 2, deep learning engineer. Okay. So in the United States, LinkedIn has said that the fastest growing job is machine learning engineer. And then the third is actually data scientist. So these jobs are tremendously growing. You're in the right place. I mean, be reassured that you're in the right place. So learning tracks, what to do, how to learn. There are university tracks like undergraduate studies, graduates, and they're growing and they're out there, of course. Very challenging to get through. It takes a lot of time. But this is one track for you. There's also, the infamous massive open online courses that you probably know them a lot. So this is another track if you want to grow your skill set and etc. And there are projects, again, like I said, Kaggle, internships, etc. So all these 3 are tools that you have to actually increase your value in the market. We can also talk about how do you fit and which one do you prefer. I'd love to hear in the chat or in the Q&A which one you think is more suitable to you or more valuable to your time. But yeah, just for the sake of time, yeah, before we move to the slide, anybody has questions here? Dalia, we have how much more time? We have 5 minutes or less?
Yeah, we can take 5 more minutes maximum.
Okay. So any questions here about how to learn, how to grow? Which track you prefer? Okay, so I'm gonna just go to this slide and tell you that we as Lyrise, we can help in all these challenges mainly. So at Lyrise we connect AI and data talents to top tech businesses around the world. We assess your profile, we upskill your competencies, and help you land the job of your dreams. This is our mission. So having said this, here's a bit of success stories. We have a case with Mohammed Rashad, who joined our program earlier on, and he was a software engineer but working in AI, and it really helped him, you know, in his professional career, even to be working now at Nokia. We have Jerry Shaw, data engineer from Pakistan. He was also part of our early programs, and that program helping shift his career even to data science and data engineering, which now he's working at. And Andrew Rizk, who is also an Egyptian that was graduating from IE University in Spain. And during our program, he learned more about, he harnessed his skills in data science, and that helped him land the job at Sanofi as a statistical forecaster. So yeah, at the end, I'd like to leave you on this note. How would you want Lyrise to help you? If you're an employer or a company, or you are a talent, I would love to know how we could help you. And the last slide I want to leave you on is we're here actually to help, and we want to hear you out. So I'll have Selma leave in the chat our Discord channel, and also a link to one of our upcoming programs that we're still researching and making sure it tailors to your needs. And if you want to check our website, of course, happy to do that, and happy to always be a support to your journey in your AI and data career and growth, so you can land your dream job. I'm done with my presentation. Let's leave it more open for Q&As. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to catch up and to see you in our network and see you grow.
Thank you, Marc, for this very beneficial presentation. It was very nice having you with us. Yes, we will wait 2 more minutes if someone wants to share anything with Marc.
Sure. If Islam, you want to share in the chat to the Discord channel, or Salma. Thank you, Muhammad.
Yes,
thank
definitely.
you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Zain. Any questions someone hasn't asked or wants to ask?
Thank you, Marc, for your time. We will move next to our final speaker, Rami Alcarimi, who will be talking about Abnewnormal, when the new normal is abnormal. Marc, if you can close your camera, please. Okay. Welcome, Rami. We are very happy to have you with us. Feel free to introduce yourself, and you can start with your presentation.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for this amazing presentation, this amazing event. You guys are doing an amazing job. Before I start, I also want to thank the previous speakers. I enjoyed the engaging session Marc just put together. The questions, the Q&A part was very interesting to me, and maybe I'll use some of the questions that were there to segue into my part. Some examples of the questions I liked were the ones by Simon and Ahmed, where they specifically focused on job functions related to AI and being stuck. So my session today, and what I will try to do, is maybe move the discussion a bit to a macro level and help us practitioners within the AI, or let me use this term loosely, crazy, fanatic crowd interested in AI, and maybe looking into a corporate view, macro level view, or on where and how we can leverage AI, and why is this the right time for us to properly leverage this technology. So the title of my talk is Abnewnormal AI, because the new normal is abnormal. And I would like to start by Of course, hello everyone. And we are in an amazing point of time where I remember where it was kind of a bad way to describe someone when you mention the word geek or the word nerd. So kudos to everyone here. We are super geek, and geeky is cool. So hello geeks out there. As I mentioned, my name is Rami Alcarimi. I'm known to be someone who hates using his phone or answering his phone, but I'm super easy to connect with on social networks. So please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I'm Rami Alcarimi on LinkedIn, and Alcarimi on most of the other social networks, so be it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and what have you. I try my best to respond fast on asynchronous connections such as social networks. The things that I've recently set up a venture studio focused on helping global businesses scale and discover their growth engines using AI, blockchain, and what have you. And from fourth industrial revolution technologies, I also helped organize and co-found the Leapfrog Nation, where we're helping create the new leaders of exponential technologies. I also teach. I'm a professor of practice at HTU, Al Hussein Technical University, where I started teaching this semester. I teach innovation and entrepreneurship. And I'm an advisory board member on the boards of Think Barter Network, Roibi AI Robots, a proud board member of FinTech Galaxy and the Al Arabi School. And I'm also a member of two communities that are focused on global growth and mindset. The Unreasonable Group, I'm a member, a mentor, and an investor in the Unreasonable Future, and number of communities that are built under Unreasonable. And I'm a member of the NASA Cross-Industry Innovation Summit, which I'll be telling you more about in a bit. Just if you can please allow me just a second, I just need to minimize the screen so I can see my, okay. I'm also, last year I joined the editorial board as a member of the Lyrise Advanced Journal of AI and Robotics. It's a monthly peer-reviewed open access online journal published in Singapore. I would invite all of you to follow the interesting content being posted on this journal. And to start diving in, I enjoy disrupting stuff. That's my motto. That's what I do. And I hate status quo. So AI came in as a tool to help move the needle on that front. I'm a proud Gemini, if you may, and the really scary part, the 666 kind of Gemini. And this has been something I shy away from. 10 years ago, I decided to embrace my evil twin Gemini and use the Gemini tools as models of disruption. And I'll tell you more about that. So my other twin is a Master Jedi fanatic fan of Star Wars. And I thought maybe I can stick to those two evil twins. But the Geminis are usually playful, intellectually curious. We constantly juggle a variety of things around, be it passions, hobbies, careers, friends, and groups. And I always have, this always sticks in my mind. My mom always used to say, use the word, is this normal? She keeps asking me to get a decent job, lead a steady life. And she always used to stick to the word normal, which I think might have influenced me in this journey where connecting the dots backward. I think she was a main influencer in terms of me being rebellious against being normal. And in most of my presentations, I usually lead with a slide just because it worked in the past, and I somehow embraced this as a motto and a mission of life, if you may. Until last year, I had no, until a couple of years ago, I had no proper way of answering the question, this question when I step into any of the corporates I worked with. or industries that I worked with in terms of disruption. And because most of the assignments I do are focused on disrupting ourselves before we get disrupted. And I used to keep getting this question, isn't disrupting ourselves crazy? And I used to juggle around with the answers until I watched, back in 2019, I watched the movie The Joker. I hope most of you did. And he used this term, is it just me or is it getting crazier out there? And I think this is where my third Gemini twin was born. And moving forward, isn't disrupting ourselves crazy became, is it just me or is it getting crazier out there? Of course, I've never wore makeup in my life. And this, of course, is 100% aligned with today's session. This is an artificial intelligence effect, the neural style transfer. And I always mention this as a way in terms of put AI aside, a way of describing business model innovation and how you usually mimic different business models and use them as trends, morph them together in order to be able to innovate and discover new models which you leverage for disruption. One of the main enemies of disruption and growth is fear, and we're always driven by our amygdala when fear kicks in. So our amygdala is the prime driver, the basic instinct form of our mind. And this basically kicks in to run away from fear. And unfortunately, this is what the news agencies build on. That's why all of our headlines are usually fear-driven, so that when you hear them, you actually get drawn into the news and listen to them. So if you embark on any disruption journey, the question isn't disrupting ourselves crazy, is usually driven by an immunity system that is built in around fear, where people try to protect the mothership core. And basically, maybe our main motto is to help just because it worked in the past, pass the deadline and move forward. So if I ask you if you can help me name an industry that has disruption immunity, and before thinking about it, I can simply tell you no industry has disruption immunity. We've seen the Nokias, we've seen the Kodak story, and I want to zoom in on the Blockbuster video story. Blockbuster, if you haven't, I know most of you heard the story, but Blockbuster in 2008 did around $4 billion in revenue, which means pretty much they were a very successful company in that year. In the same year, the Blockbuster CEO was asked about his opinion of Netflix. And his response was a famous answer. He said, neither Redbox nor Netflix are even on the radar screen in terms of competition. And he had the full right to actually say that. This is the year he did around $4 billion of revenue. Unfortunately, 1 year later, just during the end of 2009, Blockbuster went bankrupt and closed everything. And we all know the story of how Netflix skyrocketed and Blockbuster went bankrupt. Those models, I want you to keep them in mind when we explore different models. I spent the last 5 years before founding my venture studio in one of the local Jordanian banks. So I want to use this analogy because I spent 5 years inside the bank. I want to use this analogy in describing where we're heading in terms of growth. So let's look at the bank's business model. And as I mentioned, I was the first chief innovation officer in Jordan, the first to be appointed by the central bank. And Ahli Bank, the Jordan Ahli Bank, is the first Jordanian bank. It's the first bank in Jordan to receive a banking license 65 years ago. And my role was to basically help move the needle in terms of building a fintech ecosystem in the region and helping the Ahli Bank move towards innovation and closer towards the future outlook. So 4 years later, Fortune magazine, who has been publishing a report called the Change the World list for maybe 6-7 years now, 2020 was the first year a Jordanian bank, an Arab entity at large, even joins this list. And all based on some of the work that we've done, and it's mostly AI driven, be it RPAs, be it the eKYC platform that we built, the AI and blockchain powered eKYC platform that we built, and how it was really integrated into a business model. So my talk, and I'll be talking a bit more about the business model now, is more focused on helping you understand, or us together understanding, what are the business models at a macro level that can really harness and leverage the power of AI and the power of the fourth industrial revolution tools. So let's dig into the banking business model. And if we use the Alex Osterwalder's business model canvas approach to look into this, the value proposition of banks are either either provide deposit solutions at lower interest or credit solution at a higher interest. And usually the customer segment are simple. They're either depositors or borrowers. They can be individuals or companies. And the revenue streams are interest incomes, fee income, and investment returns. Now, the tricky part is that this business model has been the same business model since year 1472. And all banks till date operate on the same business model, which begs us to focus and open up our eyes towards a rerun alert, a blockbuster rerun alert. We've seen fintechs chomping at the fringes, and I recall 5 years ago when we took the decision at Ahli Bank to embrace fintechs, not fight fintechs like all the rest of the fintech financial sector community. People thought we might be crazy, and now this movement has become all of the financial sector entities are now embracing fintechs. And they said, okay, to an extent, we can't beat them, let's join them. The scary part is that banking will get disrupted. If not fintechs, then maybe techfins. And we all know techfins, so the Googles, Apples, Facebooks, and Amazons are all stepping into the financial innovation or financial disruption space. So we've seen the Apple Card, we've seen the cash account by Google, and this has been a trend that I've seen, those reruns, the blockbuster reruns, I've seen them in multiple industries, and I've lived the actual wave step into those different industry day in, day out. I've seen this in telecom. I've advised most of the telecoms in the region through moving out of the disruption that took place with Skype and WhatsApp. Mobility and travel, we've seen Ubers and Airbnb hit the taxis and hotels. In retail, we've seen Amazon hitting the shopping malls, Uber Eats and the likes, Talabat and what have you, eating off from the restaurants business model. And this became super clear to me after joining the Cross Industry Innovation Summit, which was a crazy event, if you may, that put a new lens on my eyes. Frankly, the first time I attended, I was just waiting for the candid camera guys to show up. I couldn't believe I was handpicked among 50 chief innovation officers to join the NASA Cross Industry Summit. And I've been there I've been attending yearly for 4 years. We stopped this annual event during the COVID. And it's, if you may, it's a mini TEDx condensed 2 to 3 days event where everyone shows up and gives honest and straightforward insights of what's happening in terms of disruption in their industry, and maybe exploring ideas of cross-industry collaboration in terms of innovation. And this is just to show you, I was really in Houston, there's a problem command center. And then COVID hit, and things became crazy. And we decided as a group to form something called the Cross Innovation Strategy Group. And we put ourselves together for a couple of months, and we ended up writing a report on how can we address new realities posed by the COVID-19. We called it the Never Normal. And I liked what we did there, but I thought maybe we need to extend it into an actual step-by-step mindset approach of how do you navigate out of COVID-19 And why should it really be COVID-19 related? COVID-19 only accelerated this disruption, while the real disruption has been happening since the dinosaurs got extinct, and has been taking place year in, year out across humanity. The thing is, the disruption itself has been on an exponential curve, and we're seeing more and more disruption in our day. So during COVID, we've noticed how the FDA has granted for the first time an approval in 24 hours. We've seen Wuhan build hospitals with thousands of beds in 24 hours. We've seen Twitter announce everyone working from home forever. We've seen Zara, we've seen Microsoft all shutting down their retail operations. So there's a mind shift that took place. And in some cases, some people might have thought that COVID was a disruption that is only negative for businesses. However, I beg to differ, because there was a wealth in terms of the record wealth transfer. There was a record in terms of the amounts that we saw. So we've seen billionaires' net worth increase 931 billion in the year 2020, while the small businesses collectively lost 200 billion. The billionaires' net worth increased at least 5x. And the question is, why do we end up being part of the small businesses? Why not focus on being part of the ones that actually made it during those disruptions? And would you like to basically play the Hunger Games is the bigger question, or do we screw business as usual? So because this new normal is abnormal, I coined a term, the Abnewnormal, and I put this in a book. And then later on in July, when I decided to leave my day-to-day job at the Jordan Ahli Bank, I set up a new venture studio using the same name, focused on corporates and helping them discover their new growth engines using AI, blockchain, and what have you, the culture that comes within it, the acquisitions, and the commercialization that is required in terms of IP on AI and what have you. So please feel free to go to the website, abnewnormal.com, how to evolve your mindset and business out of the Hunger Games. If you're interested, I'm hoping to be able to release the book before the end of the year. We're just finalizing some, fine-tuning some tips and tricks, maybe on the tax-related issues. Being a non-US citizen makes it a bit tricky to release, to publish books on Kindle. So I'm hoping to be able to finalize this before the end of the year. But if you go to the website, you can add your name, and once we release, we can send you a free digital copy of the book if you're interested. So for the remaining part of the session, I'll be giving you 8 secrets that are mentioned in the book. There are more, but I'll mention the 8 most important secrets that revolve around the concepts of abnewnormal and how would you embrace an abnewnormal mindset. Secret number 1 is helping you evolve your 10x mindset. And with that, we all, as mathematicians and AI experts, data scientists, we all know, of course, the real difference between a linear and an exponential curve. But I want to help you visualize more, what does that mean on day-to-day basis. So if we look at the difference between taking 30 linear steps and 30 exponential steps, by the end of the 30 linear steps, we end up moving 30 meters. While if we take 30 exponential steps, so 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and what have you, by our 30th step, we actually do 26, we complete 26x rounds around Earth, which means we'll be doing more than 1 million kilometers during those 30 exponential steps. Theoretically, mathematically, this is nice, but let's maybe look into a bit more of what does having a 10x mindset versus a 10% mindset. And one of the things we used to brag about when we talked about this at NASA Cross-Industry Innovation Summit, we used to classify people or classify statements by saying, oh, this is a 10x thing, or this is a 10% thing. Are you really thinking 10x or 10%? Let me clarify. So if you have a 10% mindset, that means you are putting yourself in direct competition with everyone else in your industry. even if this applies to how you're optimizing your model on AI or whatever you think of, if you are seeking something close to a 10% in terms of enhancement, if it's a business and you're trying to increase your revenue 10% year on year, or if you're trying to add some 10% efficiency, that might go up to 20, that might go down to 5, but that's a 10% mindset. And you are most likely to lose on the long run because someone else is moving much faster and ahead of you. While if you embrace a 10x mindset, you're actually trying to shift and solve a radically hard problem. You're going after a first principle mindset, and your approach to the problem you will approach the problem in a completely different way. How can you increase the same outcome 10x within a certain period of time? And that automatically means you have to strip this thing apart and rebuild it to be able to properly achieve this target. So a quick example is Ray Kurzweil, who is famous of being a co-chairman at Singularity University. He is the head of engineering at Google, and he's the guy, one of the famous guys who basically put the exponential model in place in terms of the mindset. I'll give you a quick example of one of his clear thoughts. So looking at the sequencing of the human genome, in 7 years, they were able to achieve 1% of this in terms of progress. And it costed them around $1 billion. So everyone was saying, just kill the project. It will need around, using this analogy of the linear growth, it will need around $100 billion and around 700 years to complete this sequencing. But Ray said, no, guys, you're looking at this in a wrong way. Just move on, complete the progress on the same path. This project is growing exponentially. And if my predictions go right, and they did, you will be achieving 100% in using $2.7 billion, and you will complete the program in 13 years. And this is what really happened. Our second secret is awaken your futurist adaptability. Fix your mind to be able to think futuristically. And by futuristic, being a futurist does not mean being a fortune teller, but it's about sensing trends and where things are heading. So for example, if you knew that 36 years ago, the stuff that used to cost around $32 billion, a TV, a radio set, the GPS, and what have you, today can fit in your pocket, and it would only cost you around $900. What would have you done? Imagine knowing 36 years ahead of time that the stuff that used to cost you 32 million will actually cost you $900 and will actually fit in your pocket. What would have you done? Think of that when you explore AI models. Wake up. Okay, so let's see. Everyone knows the Moore's law and how how the computing power doubles. Let's put it into let's put some perspective on that. So some projections, if you look at the computing power that is stuck in a computing unit that costs around $1,000, which used to be a laptop, now it's your iPhone. And the predictions, the exponential growth predictions say that around 2023, 2 years from today, the computing power on this device will actually mimic the computing power in a human brain. The scariest part is 2050, which is maybe a bit less than 30 years later. The whole human capacity, the whole human brain power at large will fit into your iPhone. Think of that. What can we do by then? And of course, the Moore's law is not only strict into artificial intelligence. There's cloud computing, the sensors, 3D printing. Zuckerberg now has taken the virtual reality and metaverse into a crazy new direction. But my point here is that there's a power of convergence. So AI alone might have amazing powers, but think of adding AI and convergence along other Moore's law, other technologies that are riding the Moore's law. And the crazy graph I want you to really focus on in terms of linear and exponential. If we plot the rate of change against time, today we are in a maybe bad point of time, but it's really amazing for us technologists. The technology curve, we are way ahead of human adaptability. And the only way we can really make sure things will work out is if we learn and unlearn faster so that we can adapt, enhance our human adaptability, and maybe make it towards the curve. And by that, I mean, we envision what will happen in the future, just like what I showed in a few minutes ago, and try to adapt our skills and try to build AI stuff along with convergence that will actually enhance human adaptability by learning and unlearning faster, so that we can ride the proper wave of technology, not miss the wave of technology. The third point is your abundance North Star. And by that, make sure you define some people call this your meaningful progress, some call it the massive transformational purpose, your glorious purpose. Make sure there's a certain purpose, a North Star that you're sticking to, so that you can build your capacity towards it, rally people around it, create a vision, create a community that helps you move into this direction. So we all know this famous slide where the Ubers, Airbnbs, Facebooks, they all own the world's largest something, the world's largest taxi, without owning any vehicle or without owning any asset. And what really strikes me in this slide, although this was very famous as a meme and it went viral online, is that those 6 companies actually never existed 20 years ago. And the real power behind them is that they embraced an abundance model versus a scarcity model. All telcos, entities, anyone who buys their rights or access, controls certain assets, they are scarcity-based models, while abundance models harness the power of abundance and the connectivity without having to actually own or control or empower scarcity. AI is a major enabler for abundance. Not AI alone. Technology itself is a force which takes something scarce and makes it abundant. And a quick example is when you build a certain AI technology into, when you build the AI technologies into the Uber phone, the Uber app, for example, you turn someone from the guy who needs 4 years training on becoming a taxi cab driver in London into an instant Mr. Know-it-all roads in a certain country, even if they don't speak the language. And there are many millions and millions of examples of how technology can actually take something scarce just like that and make it abundant. There are 6, we call them the 6 Ds of exponential, the exponential framework, where technology starts by being digitized and then democratized. And a quick example of that, scary example, is that when I was born in 1976, the first digital camera was extremely expensive, $10,000, and extremely bad in terms of resolution. While today we have a very small, less than a gram weighing digital camera, less than $10 in terms of cost, and an amazing resolution. Maybe looking into this first version of the digital camera, you would say, why would I bother with this technology? But look at the 6 Ds of the exponential growth framework, and this can be taken across the board, be it AI or any other technology. Same thing happened with storage. I don't need to tell you about that, but today you can buy a thumbstick with a large number of gigas with a fraction of the cost that used to be thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars just to have a 5 meg type of storage. Really looking into this in a different lens today, this is also shaping the social fabric of our society. We sit down together, we enjoy having a cup of coffee, and then we have a shift. The first shift, if we can call it episode 1, is clear, as you noticed, with people sitting together yet texting. And this used to be a bad joke, but it actually is the norm today in every type of our outings. Episode 2 is when we have humanoids living among us, and I've seen a scary amount of detail of humanoids really mimicking human behavior during my visit to NASA. This is actual footage from a humanoid at the Houston NASA Center. Episode 3 in the shift will be, we might no longer be interested in spending time, even if texting, with other humans, and maybe spending more and more time with our robotics. But the real question is, on episode X, what does the economy of the future look like? With the social shift, the economical shift, what does this look like? And how can we predict ahead of the wave where things are heading, and how can we embrace this and build tools and technologies that will put us ahead of the curve on that? My fourth secret is evolve your peak performance team. And the main secret ingredient is having a black ops team that operates in sprints. Forget the hierarchy, build flat structures, networkable structures, and make sure you have a crazy team. Surround yourself with a crazy team. I usually surround myself with a crazy Gemini team as well. And make sure you give them the autonomy to question everything and everyone around you. Never stick to a certain dogma or a certain status quo definition. Just make sure that they have the autonomy to disrupt anything around them. And as Master Yoda always says, you must unlearn what you have learned. My fifth secret is evolve your business model innovation approach. And with that, we've seen how Elon Musk and the others have led the digital twin-based business model approach. So the Tesla, for example, is a digital car. It's more of a software entity where you upgrade software releases, not really hardware. It's not really a hardware play, just like other cars. Forget the evolution in terms of the battery and what have you, but in terms of a business model, it's a complete digital twin of the car. And AI is basically a main driver of this mindset. So if we look at transaction-based business model, just to have an analogy, historically, because there's lots of confusion in terms of how we approach this, in terms of an analogy, if we look at what municipality has been doing historically, they are building infrastructure, roads and bridges and what have you. And they decided to monetize this. They put up those tolls. And if you look at any transaction-based business model, this is very similar. So to be able to run your transaction, you pay the toll or you pay the transaction fee. And this has moved from being gradually from being a toll that you pass by and you pay cash into what Dubai has done at RTA with the SALIC, and they slapped this RFID sticker, making this a contactless and cashless experience. It's amazing in terms of user experience, but this is not what we're talking about. This is simply digitizing the current business model. And what AI needs to really drive, the digital twin business model needs to really drive a real disruption, a new business model, and clearly try to always think about that. Are you really transforming by digitizing the current status quo, or are you really disrupting the current business model? And by that, remember my analogy, instead of having a toll booth on the road, just look into building flourishing businesses around this road and making sure there's a win-win relationship. So by the time they flourish, those businesses, you are part of not only the toll, the road, you are also part of the enablement that's taking place with the businesses around your road. And i.e., you are building platforms or building ecosystems that drive behavior, drive people to connect, they all win-win and flourish with prosperity. My sixth secret is evolve everything is everything is solvable approach. When I had the opportunity to talk at NASA to deliver my Innovation X talk in 2019, I asked my son, what would be a nice opening statement for my talk? And him being a NASA astronaut, even astrophysicist, super fanatic dreamer, he said, please ask them in the movie The Martian, which was shot in Wadi Rum. Matt Damon spent most of the movie sitting on rocks on Mars. And with this being around minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, what technology went into the suit? And sadly, the answer I came back with from the NASA team is that this was a movie. The suit was not really built yet. And he said, Dad, I know that. But by the time they go to Mars, I'm sure they have an idea of what does the real technology behind the suit look like. And this reminded me with an amazing saying by the founder and leader of Google X. He says, always approach this with the mindset. It is solvable, even if you still don't know how to solve it. You'll be shocked at what you come up with. And this is one of the main secrets I want to leave you with today. My seventh and nearly final secret is there's this phenomena of what I call AI-powered potatoes. Try to avoid those. We've seen lots of crazy AI labels slapped on stuff that don't really make sense. If it's a potato, then it's a potato. Don't slap an AI label on something that does not really need an AI label on it. And please make sure to have really powerful, impactful, really strategically aligned tools that a business model can leverage. Don't focus on the technology advancement alone without having a proper business model around it. Because we need to make sure our community helps business leaders appreciate the power of AI and make sure they clearly understand how it elevates and supports humanity. My last and not least secret is execute at speed. Evolve your ability to execute at speed. And again, using Master Yoda's words, do or do not, there is no try. And the next time someone questions your, is it just me or is it getting crazier out there? Remember me and remember the Joker going down the floor and doing the dance. And answer them clearly. It's the abnormal age. Remember, just because it worked in the past is not a justification. Disruption is happening. Make sure you survive. This ends my slides, and I thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you so much, Rami. It was very, very, very interesting and a very nice presentation. Feel free, everyone, if you have any questions to ask Rami, feel free to unmute yourselves or in the chat.
Open for questions.
Okay. So Dalia is asking you, what are your insights on the newly introduced Meta? Where do you think this will take us in the next few years?
Very interesting questions. I would like to be politically correct in my answer. So there are some, I have some political views on why Zuckerberg is taking Facebook into this direction. And maybe it's not really genuinely driven behind why he wants to build the Meta. There are some allegations they need to take away and what have you. But I'll focus a bit more on the metaverse itself and where we're heading. And I think, and it really, there's a real cross road with AI here. Imagine a world that is actually existing around us today in a digital sphere that we don't see unless we wear our metaverse lens. Be it our Oculus, be it our digital lens that we wear on our eyes, be it our phone where we have a VR camera on. And when we turn those lenses on, there's a completely new universe living around us. So today, the quick example is we've seen the Pokemon Go craze that went on and people started collecting. And let me jump a bit and remind you with NFTs, the non-fungible tokens. And what if, so today people are just buying those digital assets using NFT, and some are playing around with leveraging their Bitcoins and buying and reselling and just creating hype around the NFTs. So don't really buy into that today. The craze is not really genuine. But imagine a day not far from today whereby there is an actual digital robot or an actual digital being that is an NFT. It's non-fungible, so it's unique. It's yours. It's maybe it's yours. Maybe it's just out there. It may be an something to eat, an apple, or maybe it's a digital pet, just like the games we used to play. But every time you wear those lenses, they're on. Every time you take the lens off, they're still there, although you can't see them. And there's a completely new digital economy that takes place. This digital pet, NFT, digital pet is an AI being. It can evolve to become a human. Even when we look at privacy, for example, most of the organizations today, the corporates today, can't reach out to us because Apple is helping block our privacy data from them. So what if they start using AI-powered NFTs for us to actually go in the metaverse, collect, and then voluntarily opt in to provide our data? And then this becomes the new CRM, the new tool that allows corporates to talk to us and target us and feed this pet or what have you. I'm just throwing in crazy ideas, but I think just to a long story short, I think we're heading into a crazy growth engine, and we will be unlocking crazy abundance on that front. The question is, how do we maintain our sanity as human beings between the actual world we live and the metaverse? And who would be actually real billionaires or real business model innovators that come up with the real mature business models that really live into this metaverse? I'm not sure I was able to answer you with a clear answer, because I'm sure no one knows the actual answer. But those are my quick insights of where I see things heading. I hope I answered you, Dalia. Any other questions?
Well, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the interesting presentation.
You're welcome.
I want to ask about the presentation part where you said about the linear and exponential part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the linear, where you said the linear are the human being and the exponential is the technology. Okay.
No, I said the human adaptability is linear.
Adaptability, yes. How we're going to adapt to the exponential growth of technology, whereas each generation, like our current universities or educational system at a total, is going always to the origin of everything. Like if a new platform goes, we go back to the origin before moving to the new platform, our new frameworks available. So if we're going always backward and then moving forward, there's a big gap between them. How could we solve this thing?
Maybe universities are not really equipped to help us navigate through this phase. And I'll tell you two secrets. I hope they stay between us, Simon. One is I've never hired people based on experience. I hire my team members based on their ability to unlearn and learn. And I have crazy tricks and mindset games that I put them through to try to identify if they are such a caliber. The team at Beirut.AI and Zaka know that we built the first AI-powered, AI and blockchain-powered EKYC platform in the region. Right after I put around 15 team members of mine into the Zaka bootcamp. We had zero knowledge of what AI is. And within 9 months, we went live with the first AI-powered EKYC platform in the region. So it basically has nothing to do with the power of where the current structures are, the universities and what have you. I want to keep my statement politically correct because not all universities can be treated as so. Some of them are trying to innovate beyond that. We've seen many other higher ed disruptors like Udacity, Udemy, and what have you, where they're actually no longer connected with the current status quo approach. if you may. But it actually boils down to you, to us as human beings. If we want to build our capability in terms of being able to adapt faster towards change, we no longer want to surrender towards what is out there and say and play the blame game. No university can actually build my capacity. I need to be able to build my capacity, and the sources out there, although sometimes they might be scarce, but if there's a will, there's a way. Everyone can find their way out. Another thing is that today most of the tools, the abundance is really making sure that the tools are at hand. So just like there was a phenomena called SaaS, and everyone was focused on trying to build a business model and some economics around pushing SaaS business models. And then this evolved into PaaS, platforms as a service, and what have you. Now we're seeing AI as a service, and we're seeing machine learning as a service. And we're seeing business models that are built around you creating a complete organization where you only focus on your core, but you have all of the surroundings as SaaS or AI as a service components. So realistically, when you need to advance your knowledge in a certain topic, you don't need to learn everything. You need to focus on the niche that you really need to push the boundaries with. And today, with the abundance out there, there's, again, abundant sources of knowledge that can help you in moving forward. My second secret is I teach at the HTU, the Al Hussein Technical University, and one of my mandates, not as a professor of practice, is actually help disrupt higher education, because we know for a fact at HTU that the current education model will get disrupted, and we can't support the human adaptability if we keep teaching people in the current way. Now, is that an easy task? I'm sure it's not. Higher education ministries and the regulators will not really accept this with a click. One of the things we need to work on together as a community, and such a gathering like this is where we put our minds together, our heads together, and try to form a movement, try to form some consensus around our demands of moving the mindsets of Arabs and the MENA community to support ourselves in that direction. And this is how we move the needle. We always have the option of being fearful and playing the blame game and saying no one is out there to help us. Governments won't support, universities are old and old school and won't evolve. But that's not what we do. That's why we have a global AI festival, right? I hope that answered your question, Simon.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions?
I guess not. Thank you, Rami.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rami, for this presentation, and thank you everyone for today. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow. And thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.